Welcome to The Space Between. On this episode, I am joined by Darryl Gaines. Darryl is a gifted astrologer of over 30 years and has a profound understanding of the times we are living in. Together, we unpack the energies of the past few years and discuss the why behind much of what is going on in the collective. Join us as we connect through conversation. This is The Space Between. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the official launch of the Space Between podcast. My name is Alyson Rixner, and I am here with my dear friend, and that doesn't even seem like the right word, Mr. Darryl Gaines.
Thank you, Alyson. What an honor and a privilege to be here on your first, what is certainly not going to be your last. I'm going to be like at whatever awards they give for podcasts. I'm like, do you remember me? Do you remember me? As you collect your 6th award for
Thank
Best
you, Darryl.
Podcast.
Thank you so much for being here.
Well, really, it's an honor and it's really a privilege. Thank you. There's such mutual respect.
Absolutely. I love you a lot. And I'm very happy to be sharing this moment with you. So for everyone listening, really, really excited to step into this unknown. I've been thinking about this for well over 2 years, starting a podcast. And it really came from a lot of conversations I had with amazing friends and people like yourself. Mm-hmm. And why I created this, and it really does feel like I'm birthing something new, which is so exciting, is we have been so incredibly disconnected from ourselves and from each other. And we're going to talk about this, but what we've been through the last few years has been very intense.
Yes.
And very transformative.
Yes.
And amazing and difficult and all the things. And when I started thinking about what I wanted to talk about and what I hope resonates with the audience is we've gone through a portal of sorts, which you will tell us all about astrologically.
Yes.
And now we are in this really interesting place where we're not quite who we were. We can't go back, but we're not really who we know we're becoming. And it really resonated with me. I kept thinking of the word space, and I thought we're kind of in between these two worlds. And that is the space between. And we're going to talk today about the astrology and kind of what has happened in the past, where we kind of sit in the present, which is the only moment we have, as we know.
It's not a cliche.
It is not a cliche. And where we're headed and where we hope as individuals and collective that we're headed. And my intention for anyone that's listening today is that this sparks either a conversation that you might want to have with someone or even a conversation that you might want to have with yourself. We're going to go there with this podcast. Yes. We're going to talk about the topics that are not so easy to talk about. Because if we want to really explore who we are now and where we're headed, don't you think we have to go there?
It's critical.
I like that word.
Critical. And in the most positive way, because many times we will say critical and it conjures fear that it's near death experience, but actually death is life. Exactly what you're doing.
Boom.
Death
Another
is life.
Darryl gem. It is.
The transformation.
Absolutely.
It's life.
Absolutely.
And it's critical that we live like never before.
And you have so much optimism, and we're going to talk about that. And so do I.
Yes. Yes. And it's not false.
No.
It's real. I mean, it is, our eyes should be burning. Yeah. The future's that bright.
It is that bright.
That's right. But, and of course we're going to go into it, but we all have a natural proclivity. We grew up, I know, my generation, even the generation of your parents, it's the 11 o'clock news, how we get comfortable with pessimism.
Yes.
And everything, 1972 was bad, things are bad. But now we want 1972. Isn't it interesting?
The irony. Don't you always want what you can't have? We'll unpack that in a different podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
That's for something else. So one of the things I wanted to let the audience know is we're going to talk about some really interesting themes during our times. And I'm going to have a guest
That's great.
on every episode, which I'm really excited about.
It's who you are.
Yes. It's all about relationships, baby.
It's all about relationships.
Yeah. And we're going to keep a similar structure, which I think is important too, so people will know what to expect.
Absolutely.
And, again, my intention is really just to be a vessel. And I know that you feel that way with the work that you do.
Yes.
To really allow somebody to just connect back to who they are. Because if we're not being who we are, we're not really living. And we're certainly not serving.
That's right.
And you either serve
or you suffer.
You're going to write that book with all these quotes.
Yes.
I know that's coming. So let me start by asking you this.
Mm-hmm.
When I talked about the space between, and obviously we've discussed this many times before, what does that mean to you?
Between self, selfless, self, and you, relationships. Not so much being perhaps stuck on oneself, but also not being so dependent.
Yes.
It's balance. But self and that space in between me and you is a dynamic point in the universe.
That's beautiful.
Dynamic.
That is so beautiful.
But when I'm with me, and I mean this, the opposite. Through the cycles of life, we walk through each other's shoes.
Yes.
And it's not so much even the remedy for war is to extend to the opposite.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of the
connection.
The connection. Man,
have we gotten away from connection?
Uh-huh.
That was the first thing I thought when I started thinking about this. We are so disconnected.
Yes.
The space between is rife with disconnection.
Yes. But it's about listening.
Yes.
Not reacting. And I know you're going to delve in. You have such a wealth of cathartic remedies for us. So I'm so excited for you, Alyson. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you so much.
Because you've lived it and you're living to tell.
Yeah.
This is something
as we all are.
This is something as a friend I've wanted this for you since 2011, 2010.
When we first met.
Yes.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
So I think for me, when I think about the space between, it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good in times, but in times it's like the greatest feeling in the world. It's the concept, I feel, of polarity, which is you can't have light without dark. You can't have hot without cold, right? This space between, it just seems so energetically charged.
Mm-hmm.
And it is such a dichotomy. It's like I've had some of the best times of my life and I've been faced with my shadow and have been in a hole.
Yes.
So it's just this really interesting.
The space.
Yes, exactly. And
but space,
my view of
space is provided, by the way.
Space has to be there.
Yes.
Right? It's just part of the universe and the way things are.
It's
but it's one of those things where I felt like I woke up one day and my opinions on things just shifted. It was almost like I didn't know who I was and I had to catch up. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people, at least that I know, and I'm sure a lot of listeners today are thinking the same thing and resonating with that as well. It's like after everything we've gone through, and we're not going to go into everything, right? No. We all know what we've been through.
Yes.
And here we are.
Here we are.
A bit of whiplash, maybe. What just happened?
Well, break down, break through. Again, not
Absolutely.
Not a cliche, but
it's the only way it happens.
It's the only way it happens.
Laws of the universe.
It's good.
It is good.
It's good to discover the space in between.
Yeah.
Ego, egoless.
That's beautiful.
Right?
So, speaking of the space between, there have been so many narratives. So, when I think of a narrative,
Mm-hmm.
right, it is the way that the collective thinks about something.
Yes.
It could be a sort of, how can I say, an agenda that is pushed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, is bodily autonomy and health and what that means to be a sovereign human and a sovereign being in your body. That has been incredibly challenged for so many people
Yes.
on this planet.
Yes.
And there's some really, really strong narratives that exist around that, right? You should have control over your body. You shouldn't. You should be able to do this.
Yes.
You shouldn't, right? And it seems like everybody has an opinion and it's so charged. Some of the narratives that you and I have talked about, I'd love to get your opinion on how does that energy impact us, right? We hear something and all of a sudden we feel differently about something. And we're so easily swayed, it seems. And you and I talk about this all the time. And I'd like to kind of finish this piece with the discernment. And what does it mean to really be discerning about how I feel about something and not letting a narrative or, media or whatever try to influence how I feel. So can we talk about that?
Sure. And it really, again, speaks volumes for space. Is our space spiritually clean? Even if we say, well, I'm not that sensitive, we are sensitive to our space.
Absolutely.
Which is various degrees. We absorb our environment, our space.
We do.
That's why it's important to be aware of, perhaps in my belief system, times that you can be susceptible to being in the wrong space.
Yes. And especially during the pandemic when it just was coming at every single person, just like a freight train. And whatever people think about that time or whatever people think about how or why that went down isn't the important piece. It's the important piece of what did we take from that?
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And being discerning, right? What you're talking about and making sure that you're in an energetic space. And we're going to talk a lot about that on this podcast. To be in an energetic space, to be sound and to be centered and to be grounded, as the chaos will and have always been.
That's right. And,
around everyone on this planet, right?
Absolutely. As I like to say, the bull may be in the china shop. The dishes don't have to break.
Right. Right.
Right?
You've said that to me so many times.
Okay.
It took me a long time to really get it. And now when you say that, I feel it in my body.
Yeah, it's true.
It is the most important thing to know that you're going to be okay with all these narratives, political, financial, health, technology. We're going to unpack that on this podcast. I'm fascinated by it. It's huge. It's all anyone's talking about with AI and climate. It's just
all of it.
Yeah.
We are truly in the new age.
We are. So what do you mean by the new age? Let's talk about the astrology of these times.
Well,
where did we come from? Where are we now?
Right.
What does that look
like?
We
are fair and square in the age of Aquarius. What is Aquarius? Not only is it your rising.
Look at me over here like, yes.
But again, I'm not going to speak the language of astrology. But the age of Aquarius, what does that mean? And the world will be as one.
Yes.
With awareness.
Yes.
That yes, I am an individual. I am somebody. But with awareness and through the cycles of life, we walk in each other's shoes. We begin to have mutual respect. We understand the space in between, but we also understand when I'm fighting with you, I'm fighting with myself. Because there's a bit of me and you and all of us. Right?
Let's unpack that.
Right.
There's a concept, and I'm a student of energy and spiritual healing, of mirroring.
Yes.
And what you just said is essentially mirroring.
Yeah.
Right? If there is something coming at you and it has just flipped you out or sent you into another realm, there's a lesson there, and it is something that's inside of you.
That is what is so satisfying with my belief system of astrology. And I want to be very careful because astrology can be communicated as another language. In many ways it is, especially many astrologers, including myself sometimes, but I've become more aware of it. We get very ethereal and literally up in the clouds with the planets.
Yes, which is understandable.
Yes.
But at the same time, you have to be able to communicate that to people.
To bring it down.
Right.
But my point is, you're born with a chart.
Right.
Individual, your personal handprint.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly identifying your purpose, your innate essence in this existence. But at the same time, the chart is a picture of the sky, a map of the sky, that exact moment of birth. But what happens at the moment of birth? We give our first breath and we are on our way.
Yes.
And so are the planets.
Yep.
And so are the planets.
Mm-hmm.
As above, so below.
And constantly moving.
Constantly moving, giving us all an opportunity to come face to face.
Yeah.
The mirror.
Ugh.
Right?
Mother Joe.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And
I love how you said opportunity, because it can feel really heavy, especially if you're going through a dark night of the soul, if you're going through a tough time, it can feel very, very heavy.
Well, we just came out of a collective space.
Absolutely.
Of being stuck. But at the same time, on the upside, as we were literally putting masks on, some of us.
Yes.
Everyone was taking the mask off metaphorically. And we were seeing the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Ooh, boy, did it all come out to play. Yeah. There was no more hiding.
It was truly an unmasking.
Yes.
As we masked.
In every way.
In every way. It was...
It's so prophetic and so true.
You know, because when you look at that energy, and again, not the language of astrology, the sky that we were all under collectively was very much about the home meeting the outer world of transformation, and we all change regardless of our charts. But when you look at that energy, how it's played in recent history of humanity, whether it be when we discovered that energy, Pluto, the energy of transformation, with the rise of Nazis, then look where we've seen it play out collectively with human rights, the decolonization of Africa. Then look what happened in the 80s when it came home to the AIDS crisis. Then it showed up again, September 11th. But all of those periods, those collective periods, those spaces, on the other side, there was life. There was transformation.
Yes.
Do I wish that those horrible things? No, but in order for us to have life, we have to have death.
Absolutely.
Rather literally or metaphorically.
Absolutely.
And it's that space. But not to go way off, but I also believe it's a continuance.
Absolutely. Again, with the laws of the universe.
That's why we have to show up in this space.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, we got to get it right.
Absolutely.
And we get it right with awareness. We get it right with you being an agent of change with, and this is not because you're a friend and I love you like a sister or like a stepdaughter. No, we're more siblings. My ego wouldn't allow.
I was just going to say that. I wasn't going to go there, but good. You said it, not me. Like,
but seriously, you know, when I first sat with you and discussed your beautiful chart, I told you you were here to bring awareness, to take the lower form of the mind and help us all reach that higher consciousness. You are a leader.
Thank you.
And
I had no idea what you meant when you said that.
know.
And now I get it. Here we are. That was with 2012.
Yes.
And so speaking of timelines, let's talk a little bit. I don't want to spend I don't think either of us want to spend too much time on it, but let's talk about 2020 specifically March, December, those kind of
Sure.
time frames
Sure.
astrologically, because when I talked about in the beginning the portal that we went through, I truly believe that that was the portal, that kind of
Oh, absolutely.
mid to late 2020. I mean, some could say all of 2020. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, yes. Well, again, I don't want to speak heavy astrology, but it has to be understood.
Absolutely. Please do.
You know, we are, we went through a very, very, very profound transformative period, a Platonian moment. And I remember it. It's on tape. So
Yes.
I had a session with a client in October, November of 2019. And this is not me saying, I told you so. But it's that I feel the planets very fiber of my soul.
Yes.
I understand. I feel it.
You live and breathe
I
it.
live and breathe it. I walk with it.
You do.
I'm not beholden in the sense that I can't get out of bed because the moon is squaring my Pluto today. But in big picture, that said, I had said to a client that the events of March 2020 will make September 11th seem like child's play. I knew, especially because it was returning to a place of a birth of a nation.
Yes.
And since the United States, when you look at the United States chart, July 4th, 1776, and that's where we found the energy for the first time.
Exactly.
And that's why these years, because Pluto moves so slowly.
Yes.
Just for
it's far out there.
So for people to understand, even if you want to say it's not a planet, it's an energy from above.
Yes.
That said, we have a birthday every year.
Yes, we do.
Because the sun goes around.
Yep.
Every 2 years, Mars makes a full, the first time is when we're 2.
Yes.
What happens when we're 2? The terrible 2s. Mommy, I want.
Yes.
Because that's Mars. Mars returns.
Yes.
Pluto, we never see a full revolution.
Yeah. How many years is it?
We rarely see a half a revolution.
Of course.
It's 250 years.
I know it was 2-something.
So we are back at the birth of this nation, and this nation is the leader of the free world. The keyword free.
Yes.
Higher consciousness, awareness. What is America? It's a Cancer sun, patriotism, the homeland, sometimes, or perhaps too many times, wanting to look back. But what is its rising? The ruler of its chart, Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, expansion, a higher conscious energy.
Yes.
What is its moon? Aquarius. And the moon in all of our charts represents our reigning need.
Yes.
And the need is equality, freedom for all, and justice for all. The time has come.
Yes.
Regardless of our political opinions, it doesn't matter. You can't fight a tidal wave, Gail.
No, you can't.
and that's why.
And I love how you said that, because something that I've shifted is less judgment. I probably think a lot of people listening to this felt that. There was just such a sense of judgment. And now I don't feel that way. And I do think that within reason, right? People should speak and they should feel.
Absolutely.
They have the right to feel.
Absolutely.
How they want to feel.
Even when they're diametrically opposed to your beliefs.
Yes.
Everyone is in our space for a reason.
Absolutely. It's a lesson.
You can't shoot the messenger.
No. And that's why we're here.
You can't shoot the messenger.
Absolutely.
But we're so taken aback by the mask that we wear when we're being unmasked.
Absolutely.
And making judgment. I'm certainly guilty of it. But through progression, if I'm to practice what I preach, we do understand that we need to alter that those convictions of
Yes.
opinions.
That's
those
really
convictions.
just causing so much
Well, it's also
chaos and trauma for people,
Right.
and you know,
Right.
everyone's digging their heels in the sand, and I don't care what you think,
Absolutely.
and I hate you, and it's, you know, we're going to unpack a lot of that. It's a big topic that I want to talk about.
Yeah, but it's also not about being an anarchist. People misunderstand Aquarius energy. Many times I feel people think Aquarius is a body full of tattoos and purple hair.
Yeah.
Being a rebel.
Or someone that
just
can't have a
radical.
conversation,
Right,
and
just
they're
ra-
often like, well, I think that was in the 70s. I wasn't around, but you know, I'm an old school soul, and I
Well,
love that
was.
era. Right, so in the
No.
70s, it got a bad rap.
Right.
I dig it. I'm an old school. My parents were hippies. Like I dig it. But
Woodstock when Pluto and Uranus, when that
free love
yes.
and all of these things
Mhm.
that, but it is. There was a sort of, maybe it wasn't. It was early. It was ahead of its time.
Yeah. Well, that's
it was
what
very
is.
ahead of its time, and it was too ethereal for people to connect.
Exactly.
You know, too. They really couldn't connect to it. So where are we now? Because all we have is the present moment.
You know, I love music. And,
Love music.
And the moment I was like, Kenny Loggins, this is it.
Oh, make
This-
no mistake who you
Make-
are.
This is it. I want to hear the music.
I know, me too.
I can feel it.
Maybe that needs to be my opening. We'll
I
see.
love it.
I haven't thought about that yet.
This is it.
Yeah,
The
this is
space in
it.
between
It's beautiful.
of moving ahead,
Yes.
but moving ahead with understanding, with diplomacy,
Yes.
and with listening, with being of service,
Yeah.
with understanding.
With an open heart
Yes,
and an open
With-
mind.
absolutely. Absolutely. And balance. And balance.
Yes.
And that really is the space in between.
Absolutely.
Me and you. La balance.
Yeah.
Right?
It's beautiful.
And that's why I'm so excited. Has it been challenging? You know, me personally, absolutely. It's
Oh.
been challenging for everybody. You know the specifics in my life,
Same.
but so what? We're here to,
Right.
we're here alive to tell how I got over,
Yes.
right?
And don't we love a good comeback story? Let's
Yes,
be
we
clear.
do.
Especially America. We
Well,
love a good
LL Cool J, don't call it a comeback.
Love that.
Again, music.
You've been here for years.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love it. But yes, we're living to tell.
We are.
And it has been challenging.
Absolutely.
The remedy, for me, it's been such a blessing. Such a blessing to do what I do. Helping people understand that they have it. Not preaching false optimism, but here, this is what you were born with.
Yes.
So many possibilities. When I look at the chart, to me, it is, yes, it's who you are, but through progression, coming in to the real you.
Yes.
And here you are.
Yeah.
So much of your chart is hitting those starting points. This is it, Miss Loggins.
The new beginning.
Right.
And I've had an interesting path, and people
Yeah.
will learn more about me as
No, we
the
humans
time goes on.
You know, I love F. Scott Fitzgerald. Who am I to criticize such a great writer? But he got it wrong. And I say this vehemently. There
Yeah.
are second acts in life.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, that sometimes we project what we feel in the
Absolutely.
moment. There are more than second acts.
Yeah.
There's a complete reorchestration of our life with awareness
And
coming into our true self.
absolutely. And with this space between,
The space between.
you are in an official second act.
Yes.
You had an incredibly successful
Mm.
and what I would call a very visible career
And fitness.
in fitness, and a lot of new things that you tried to bring about it. You really were the first person to bring astrology into fitness,
Mhm.
the body, right? What does
Mhm.
that look like in someone's chart?
Yes.
I had a career in healthcare and technology. Now I run a mortgage company with my husband. I went from the corporate America to, you know, jumping off a cliff with no parachute, and starting a company with my husband, which I will absolutely be talking about. And now I'm doing this.
But the
And-
awareness that you bring
Absolutely.
for all of those
Right.
those placements, whether it be the corporate world, how we can work with our money.
Oh, we're going to talk a lot about money
And
on
what's
this podcast.
Yeah,
it's such a big
that's
charged...
important because we have such an attachment, the space between my money and your money.
Or
Again,
how I even feel about my money, the space between. We're going to unpack all of that.
The space between.
Absolutely.
And in my belief system of astrology, there's always that space, even with the sun sign. And I'm not a sun sign astrologer, but what is the space in between a Virgo and a Pisces, a Cancer and a Capricorn, a Gemini and a Sagittarius?
Yeah.
Again, in my humble opinion, when I look at the space in between an Aquarius and a Leo, most Aquarians act more Leo than Leos. And I love Oprah, but she's very much a lion.
Yep, absolutely.
The obsession with the mane,
Yeah.
the picture on every issue,
and we're
which
all
is great.
so alike. That's
Yes,
the other thing. We have
exactly
all these
that
different
space.
charts, but we are so alike, and that's another thing
And
that
it's- again, it's
my
this-
intention for this new venture is to find these common grounds. But
because it's finding peace.
yeah, and I think where I was going with you and I kind of coming into what I feel is both our purpose in life in this space between. A lot of my friends, a lot of people I see on social media are coming into their purpose in the space between. And that can be scary. It can be exhilarating. It can feel super uncomfortable. It can be really exciting. It's all of the emotions and all of the things. And I am just so... let's talk about the future.
Well,
it's so bright.
It really is. And there's a difference. This is not a cliche. There is a difference between giving up and giving in.
Mm-hmm.
Giving in is freedom. How are you ever going to have the freedom that you
Letting
want
go.
unless you commit?
And also letting go.
Letting go, exactly.
There is a death in the space between.
Absolutely.
I remember...
But what's there to fear? Unless you're up for a capital crime. What's there to fear?
Well, fear is driving. Let's be clear. Fear is driving literally everything in this world right now. There is so much fear. I recently did a podcast with my business mentor and friend, Irene DeFord, and we unpacked this with mindset. Fear is... I would say the heaviest energy, the strongest emotion that exists on the planet today.
Absolutely.
And you're correct. But even you and I in those moments, it'll take you down. And that is very present in the space between is that fear.
But let me tell you something. I was a nerd, with my love for the esoteric films. There was a German filmmaker, Werner Fassbinder. Brilliant film. The tagline resonates with me. Fear eats the soul.
Ugh.
And baby, we got plenty of soul. So why are we going to let that eat us away?
Absolutely. And I think...
Fear eats the soul.
Absolutely.
And it's easy for us to sit here because we've lived it. We've lived the fear. Personally, I know.
I don't know that we will ever be out of it, but it's coming back to that neutrality. It's coming back to that space. Coming back to a place where...
But the space in between.
Exactly.
That
you're not falling.
But you gave me space. And this is something I have to say. You gave me space. It was very difficult to return to New York, to the ghosts of the past.
Yeah.
But that space that you've provided in between all of that foolishness that perhaps I'm still holding on to, instead of embracing the clean spiritual space of so many people, especially
absolutely
being
and the space between allowing that fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things I love the most about our relationship. We can really go there. And I hope for anyone that's listening, you have those people in your life that will let you go there and really just kind of grovel and say what you need to say and then say, but and not with wax optimism, but with true love and support and an understanding of who you are. It's never been more important to have relationships with people that can do that for you. So
Absolutely. And someone understands.
And and thank you for being here, because I know it wasn't easy for you to come and do this.
Well, but I'm just grateful for that space. But also, again, the space in between Saturn and Neptune, limits and limitless. To embrace the equation that 1 and 1 equals 2, but also to know when you've done all you can, honestly and with integrity, 2 and 2 become 9, the magical will.
Absolutely.
To respect limits and to embrace the limitless.
Yeah. That's where we're headed to.
That's where we're headed.
So that's what I want to talk about, right?
Respecting the limits.
Where are we headed? We're moving into Aquarius. We have all of these planets that are in very different positions in the sky.
Yes.
Most of us.
They have to be somewhere.
Or all of us, right, have never seen some of these placements. And I, as an Aquarius, rising, I'm excited about it, but I know not everybody is. Like, I have a very different view, and so where are we headed?
There's nothing delusional about your chart at all.
If anything, there's too much clarity.
Yeah,
but we won't go there.
Miss MRI vision, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, I'm a child. Saturn in Capricorn, and it opposes my sun. Reality bites big time for me, but I also know that this is the best time to be alive in human history.
Absolutely.
I know that. I know it with every fiber in my soul.
I feel that.
This is it, Miss Loggins. No, seriously.
This is it.
This is the best time, because on the other side, and we'll delve into that.
Absolutely.
The astrological reasons, but just intuitively, I want people to feel that.
Yeah.
Not in a way, it's just going to get better.
And another cliche, it's always darkest before dawn.
Yeah, but
it's true. It has been dark. And now that we're connecting back to ourselves, we're hopefully connecting back to each other, which is a big intention of this work. Yes. We have nowhere to go but up. We have a lot of things to fix. We have so many things we have so many opportunities and beautiful ways to connect with each other and figure shit out. Like, let's figure things out. The limits. We have been so bogged down by these limits. It's time for the limitless.
That's what that energy I said that takes 250 years. That's what it's all about. It's about going all the way down.
Yeah.
And bringing it up.
Rising like a phoenix.
That's right.
Here we are.
Here we are.
We're here, baby.
We're coming face to face with rebirth. Yeah. This is the gestation period.
Yeah.
It's almost, if I were to describe it, and it just came to me, it's almost, we've been dealing with breech birth for the last 7 years.
Yeah.
It's just, it feels like we're about to, but we're entering the wrong way. Let's get this bait.
Right.
We're fighting for our lives.
Yeah.
But there is life on the other side of it.
Absolutely.
That's why I know that this is the best time to be alive.
That's amazing.
Because there's going to be life like never before. Yeah. And I know that a child born today will not be stuck in those limits of a census box.
And you can see that with children today.
Absolutely.
They're unbelievable.
Absolutely. It's wonderful.
It is. It's
and that female energy, because that's the beauty of life. It's not gender. It's not sexuality.
Right. The feminine.
It's the feminine and the masculine.
Not gender.
It has nothing to do with
energy.
It's energy.
The receiving.
And that's okay that we're fighting about all of this. And I don't want to dismiss it. And it's just, it is what it is.
Absolutely.
And we're dealing with it. But ultimately, it's about balance between that space.
Absolutely.
Between the masculine and the feminine.
Yeah.
And coming home. Because when you look at the chart, it's the bottom.
Yep.
Because when you're home,
begin again.
You know yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's why adaptation, curiosity, reaching higher consciousness,
innovation,
clarity, being safe and secure with it, being at home. Even if you're at the deepest valley, to know you have to.
When you have yourself, you don't need anything else.
You have to.
Absolutely.
You'll never appreciate and fully feel that glory of the top unless you come home.
Absolutely.
And home is just not a place. Yes, it can be a place, but more importantly, it's a feeling.
Yeah.
So home is knowing yourself.
It is.
And that's the energy we're dealing with.
Absolutely.
And understanding those spaces of home and the outer world and how to exist. So I just love that you're doing this.
Thank you.
Because it speaks my language, but even more for those who don't want to embrace. And that's fine. Because not
everybody's going to jam with this. Right. That's okay.
You know, I came from an upbringing that tended to be black and white in the sense of holding on to my beliefs.
Absolutely.
I'm totally okay. I love people who don't believe in astrology. I love it. But I also love 3 years later them calling me up and saying, and that's okay. If they never call.
But it is nice that they've called, let's be honest.
Yes. But I got to be honest. I love naysayers. Yeah. It makes me a better astrologer.
And it has nothing to do with you.
Right.
And I'm going to unpack
So I don't want to hold on.
That's a whole other episode.
Right.
You know, what people think of you has nothing to do with you, and it's really none of your business. But for another time.
Well, that's a great sneak preview, though, Alyson.
Yes, absolutely.
It's going to be fabulous.
I'm excited.
I'm excited for you. I'm going to tune in. And just remember me. I'm like, remember me.
Oh, please. So, couple questions, and I'm going to end every episode with the same question. So that's going to kind of be the thread. That's
great.
Which I think will be good.
I love being the pilot.
People will know what to expect. So, how have you noticed changes in your life in the space between?
I've become more forgiving of myself and others. I'm not there yet. As you well know, true transparency.
It's a journey.
You held my hand getting on that plane from Los Angeles here because I haven't fully closed the door. But I think I'm 90% there.
You're so good.
I know I am.
You are.
But thanks to you. And I mean that, Alyson. It's full transparency.
And you've done the work. But
full transparency.
I'm happy to be there for you.
There has been such an unmasking.
Yes.
And some critical returns happened to be sitting at a place on the radio under the same sky at the age of 13 and to revisit again at the same point. Not only is it an affirmation for my belief system, but more importantly, to help others to know you don't know where you're going until you know where you've been.
Yeah.
And once you know, you know. And once again, the ruler of your chart as an Aquarius rising, the ruler to know, I know. It's very, very powerful. And to have a moon in the place of psychotherapy, naturally, the need to discover not only for self what lies beneath, but because you're so relationship driven to understand that space. So there's no better candidate to define this idea of the space in between than you. And I say that not because I'm putting a feather in your cap, but I mean it. I know it. I see it. I believe it.
And thank you for being so honest and open, because it is hard to not only forgive others, but to forgive ourselves. The shame that we feel and it's shame is the hardest emotion to deal with.
Yes.
And you have come through a lot. And it's the space between.
I just get mad at myself angry with myself because what kid from Western Pennsylvania gets up and goes to the Soviet Union when the Iron Curtain was there?
Yeah.
On his own, leaves.
And how old were you?
Like 19.
Yeah. Nobody does that. And that's not the only time you did something like that.
To go to the Middle East and camp out for 2 years in the desert.
With no plan.
No plan. but always feeling that energy and knowing.
And because you knew you were guided.
But I'm beholden. But on the flip side, because, and again, I don't want to bog down in the details of my chart, but to behold it to the petty, that what doesn't matter.
Right. And letting go. Well, that's in all of our charts, let's be clear. As humans, we have to learn to let go.
But, that's what angered me up till this space in between period. Yeah. Under this collective sky where we've all unmasked. It's pretty painful. Oh, yeah. But it's also liberating.
It is.
Freedom.
And you're feeling that freedom in the space between.
Absolutely.
You're catching, so am I. We're catching glimpses of it and hanging on to it. It's pulling us a little bit further so that we don't give up or go back into the old ways or pull back into the shell or however you want to say it. And,
right.
And
getting in our own way. For me,
absolutely,
it's about getting in my own way, because
I think all of us can resonate with that.
We're so different, but we're so similar in this sense.
Absolutely.
And just for your audience to know, you naturally have a natural affinity for relationships and understanding how to, on the opposite, the plus side to having everything in the first house as I do, and also in a very visible place. The hard part is that I get in the way of my own self. I become self-absorbed. Not selfish, self-absorbed.
Just in your own head.
But that also, that all of that self-energy gave me a skill to understand self for people.
And the individual.
Yes,
it was very important.
Yes.
For you. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you being so open.
Well,
we have to be open with each other. It's incredibly important right now. We have to share.
We have to.
It's the only way we're going to get onto the other side of this. It literally is the only way.
We can respect our privacy.
Right. Yeah, you don't have to say everything.
Right.
I'm not going to say something. Many people will resonate with what you just said. Yes. And I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, you're very welcome.
So, 2 more things, and then it's over already. That happened.
I can't believe it's such a joy. I mean, we haven't seen each other in 2 years.
Yes. It's a long 2 years.
2 years. Yes. But we literally speak constantly, and you're always the forefront of my mind, and always coming in to bring me clarity, as the one who's bringing clarity to others, which I love. But again, it's that self-absorbed energy sometimes that paralyzes me. When I know, as I, of course, practice what you preach, but I know better.
Yeah.
So.
Well, when you know better, you do better.
That's right. And I really know now, especially after the events of the last 2 years.
Absolutely.
Specifically.
And that's your space between. That's beautiful.
It's just odd that exactly where I was at 13, doing radio shows, when I wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
With people from the New York Times in this very close environment.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, because there was no space or in that space of support.
Right.
I sort of just ran along.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, but here I am, exactly where the planet.
Speaking again.
The space in between.
A lot of people are going to listen to this. And
here I am.
It's such service. So.
And it's also, we put man's timetable on life. If we did that, people like Golda Meir wouldn't have left Wisconsin and become prime minister well into her 60s, Lena Horton wouldn't have come back to Broadway at 66 and had the best time of her life.
Oh, just for everyone listening, life gets better.
Life gets better.
This BS of you have to be young.
The space in between not being the prom queen and becoming the prom queen at 62.
That's amazing, by the way. That's
the space in between.
That's totally going to be a Reels. I'm just pulling that in my head right now. Last question for you. What do you hope the future holds with this space between? What do you hope we see from this as a collective? We're going to talk about the we, the us.
For the collective?
Yes.
I know not to induce paranoia, because the only way that we wake up is there has to be a shake-up. And that usually is a cataclysmic event where we mourn loss.
Yeah.
We've all experienced it.
Absolutely.
We've mourned loss, but again, on the other side, there is such life. So the dark side of death, yes. But on the other side, where I see that space in between the dark and the light, the unfortunate event of loss, but I see such gain. I see the little girl born today. I see her not having to deal with the nonsense
I do too.
that our parents, the women of the past.
Yeah.
I see predatory behavior
Of all kinds.
of all kinds.
And there is so much.
I see that abating a lot.
Me too.
I see allowing for other people to be themselves.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're fearing, that space in between.
Absolutely.
We're fearing the freedom.
Yeah.
And, jealousy is, it's a horrible human emotion.
It's also very strong.
It's very,
I'm
very
unpacking that in an episode too. That's on
It's
the list.
very, very strong.
Comparison and jealousy, and
But, no one has it. No one has it easy.
everyone has their stuff.
Life is unfair for everyone.
Absolutely.
I think the remedy, though, is to be fair with everyone we
As
deal
much
with
as you can.
and spare in spite of.
And that's beautiful for the future too. And
But that said, I believe there will be more fairness. And we're going to listen. And I get it. If people are saying, well, I've suffered too. Why is it only your people that suffer? It's not. It's the lack of listening. I feel a lot of that is going to abate.
there's going to be a
Because we had to bring it up.
absolutely.
It had to come
out.
It had to come out.
Absolutely.
And
You
it's
can only
okay.
move through it.
It's okay.
You can't move past it.
And some of the
Yeah.
performers in this narrative of
Mhm.
reaching a summit
Absolutely.
of understanding,
Yep. Mhm.
of awareness. A lot of
Yeah.
the players, it gets kind of scary because we're dealing with a lot of, water isn't wet. The earth is flat. A lot of that,
Yeah.
really? What?
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's okay. Because as I said, you can't fight a tidal wave, kiddo.
No, you can't. And we went through it, and
We went through it.
and we're still kind of floating, right? And
That's right.
and I think in the
But
space
what is the
between-
shape? What is the shape of water? There is none because
Right.
because you are everywhere.
That's love
Isn't that so romantic?
It is.
No, but seriously, we are one.
We are, and that's what I really wanted
Mhm.
to end with is the space between is ultimately the we, the us, the purpose, the coming together,
Yes.
the let's fix these problems, let's find common ground, let's connect back to ourselves, let's connect to each other, let's bring more love
Let's do it together.
into this world. Let's do it
Together.
Yeah,
Truly together.
absolutely.
And to understand.
Yeah.
And don't laugh at people that are different from you.
Mhm.
We do this because perhaps we have political differences, but those people appeared on the stage for a reason.
Yeah.
They felt ignored.
And there's a lot of energies on this planet that are trying to disconnect us. Be the rebel. Be the radical. That's
Right.
very Aquarian.
Very.
Do things differently. Don't follow the crowd.
Don't.
Don't follow the narrative. If we're going to fix our problems, we really have to start thinking outside the box.
Yes.
And the crazier, I think, in the space between where we're headed in the future, the crazier it is, the more it scares you, do it. Listen to your intuition. Listen to that voice in your head. Know that it's not going to steer you wrong.
It's not. Fear.
It's your
eats-
soul speaking to you.
Yes.
Listen, and keep going.
Yes.
So,
Fear
Darryl,
eats
how
the
can-
soul.
Absolutely. So, Darryl, how can people connect with you? He's the most amazing astrologer. I mean, I know I'm a dear friend, but he's unbelievable. And I highly suggest that, whoever wants to get their chart read, please reach out to him. So how can we find you?
Guidingplanet.co, not .com.
.co.
C-O.
Okay.
So it's Guiding Planet.
Okay.
Also, you can find me on Instagram at Guiding Planet.
Okay.
And because I'm a bit lazy in the summer, I did just post something about Venus retrograde, but I want to go back to my daily. I like to make little movies because I love film. So I make.
Get back to it. They were great.
I like to make movies of the energy of the moment.
Absolutely. Follow Darryl at Guiding Planet. On Instagram and all of the other new social medias. We're going to unpack that. There's so many new ones.
Yeah.
So Darryl, I just want to thank you for being here and kicking this off with me. I can't tell you how much it means to me. It fills my soul that you are here with me today.
I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I am so proud of you.
Your support means everything.
You're doing it. And I know you're going to inspire whatever people feel but they're afraid of. It doesn't have to be going on stage or being in front of but to do something where they can be heard, but heard with a purpose, and to be understood, and to bring understanding with the space in between, helping people in relationships. That's so important. And not just, platonic, non-platonic. Yeah. Relationships. It's so important.
It is so important.
It's everything. We share this space together. We got to start listening.
We share this space together. That is literally the perfect thing to end on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So thank you to the audience for listening today.
Audience.
Really, really excited to bring everyone some topics and themes. We're really going to go there, and excited to bring new guests.
You don't know what's coming, kids. She's going to go there. She knows that I can be very New England. Kidding.
So please like and subscribe us on YouTube and follow the show on whatever podcast app you have. We're going to have links to the show notes, links to Darryl, as we do different episodes.
It's exciting.
It's going to be a great resource page. And again, the intention, hopefully you've taken something away. Hopefully you can connect back to yourself, connect to something in your life or someone else. We are just the vessels. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. And thank you for helping others and bringing understanding. So important.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us in the space between. We hope this conversation sparked connection for you. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who will find value. And make sure to tune into our next episode as we continue the journey into the core themes of our lives. We'll see you again in the space between.